Welcome back to Blender in Motion. Today we're going to be making a Netflix motion graphics text effect using particles that's going to look something like this. So yeah, let's get into it. First thing we're going to do is I'm going to select A on the keyboard and I'm going to click X to delete everything from our scene. Then I'm going to go into File. I'm going to go into SVG, Scalable Vector Graphics. I'm going to go into blend my files and I'm going to just increase the size of this. The Netflix logo can be found in the description box below. All you need to do is download it from the link and you're going to have it. So let's just center this to the middle of the screen, and then I'm going to add a camera. Well, actually I'm going to rotate this, so I'm going to say RX90, and I'm also going to add some extrusion on it, so about 0.0. No, that's a bit too big, so 0.005. I think that's okay. And then I'm going to add a camera to the scene, so I'm going to say Shift A and add a camera. Let's go into the front view, and then what we're going to do is we're going to lock the camera on. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to say Control Alt Numpad 0, and it locks it into the view. So what we're going to do is we can scale this up. Actually, let me just change the geometry on this. So I'm going to go Object, Set Origin to Geometry, and let's just move this in, and let's just center it a bit. I think that's okay. Yeah, so that's fine. The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna convert this to a mesh. So I'm gonna go to object and convert to mesh. Now we're gonna change this geometry on this mesh because it looks bad. So I'm going to go to modifiers and I'm going to add a remesh modifier. Then I'm going to click smooth, remove disconnected pieces, untick that, and change this to about 9, and click apply. So now everything looks sorted. As you can see, it's better than it was looking before. Something else we could do is we could add, while we're at it, let's just add some lights to the scene. So I'm going to add a light, a point light here, and let's just make that a bit front, and let's say Shift D, add one here at the bottom. Actually wait, let me just delete that, and let's change the watt to 1000. And now we can say Shift D, duplicate it around the scene, and put one here at the bottom. Yeah, I think that's okay. So we have that sorted out. What we're going to do next is we're going to add a particle system. So I'm going to say Netflix and I'm going to add a particle system. For now I'll leave this at 5000. I'll keep the frame start to 10 and the end frame to about 65 and the lifetime to 100. I'll leave the random lifetime to 0. I will click the velocity and put it to 0. I'll click on rotation and I'll go up to field weights and I'll turn that down to 0. So let's see how that looks, and yeah, we're getting the effect that we're hoping for, as you can see. on the screen. But actually, what we want to do is we want to remove the Netflix, like the if we render this out, it's still going to show the Netflix and it's not going to show the particles. So it's going to show the particles as well and the Netflix logo. So we need to remove that, and we only want the particles to be on the basically on the we want the shape of the particles that, which should be the shape of the particles. Did I say that right? No. So we want the shape of the Netflix logo to be the particles. I think that's right. Yeah. So how do we do that? Okay, so we take the we say okay, let's create, let me say Shift A, and let's add a cube. Okay, and on this cube I'm going to click on this edge select mode here. I'm going to add a loop cut here. Wait, let me just do it again. Okay, and then I'm going to go into the points, and I'm going to say click this point on the top, and that point, and I'm going to say merge at center, and then we're going to click the bottom part, and I'm going to say merge at center, and this is going to be our particle shape. So we just keep that here on this side and go into our particles. So our particles, if you go into the tab, we go to the render tab, we click it from halo to object, and the object that we want is, actually let's just name that while we're at it. So let's just go back to that particle, and I'm going to name the cube to particle. Okay, now I go back to the particle system, and I already told you that I put it to object, and I'm going to change that to the object that's the particle is the instant object is the particle. So now we have this shape on the Netflix logo. So let's change the color of that particle, and I just went to the options on the material tab, and let's just get another window, and let me add a let's just go into the shader editor. Okay, and we're going to delete this principal BSDF, and we're going to add a glossy shader. We're going to add a mix shader, a mix shader. Okay, and we're going to add a emission. Actually, you could just keep an emission shader here, you don't really need to put a glossy, but that's what I done in my scene, so I'm just going to be doing that. So we're going to connect this glossy on the top and the emission at the bottom. We're going to change the color to the hex code that I did earlier, the Netflix color, which is D8 1F26. Let me just type that again so you could see. So it's D8 1F26. Yeah. And what we could do here, just to save time, I just say Control C, and then I go here to the glossy. You could really type it out or just say Control V and it pastes it. So we have the particles set up. I'm just going to add one more node here. It's just a bump node. And yeah, that's about it. So we have our particle. As you can see, it's red as well. It's got the Netflix, and we need to increase the emission strength here, so we can make it about 150. So now you can see that it has some effect, and let's add the bloom on and the ambient occlusion and the screen space reflections. So now if we change the world settings, let's just put that down to black, we could see something happening. So we can see that it does have the colors and it's on the Netflix logo. So having done that, what we could do now is we could now add a material node setup for the Netflix, because we want to make the Netflix logo transparent, but we still want to maintain the particles and the particle shape of the Netflix logo. So we need to basically make it transparent, and we want the particles to still have the shape. So it just renders out the particles and the Netflix logo is basically transparent. So let's go into, I'm going to show you how to do that. So let's just go into the solid view, or the, yeah, so the solid view, and I'm going to say Shift A, and I'm going to say add a empty, and I'm going to just bring that to the right of the screen, and I'm going to say just add a location preframe on the timeline, so that's on 1. And yeah, so let's create a particle, sorry, not a particle, let's create a material for this. So we're going to say use nodes, and we're going to go into, leave this, and I'm just gonna say Control V again just to add that color, or you can type it out, whichever you want to do. So I'll just go to Control, because I have it saved, V, enter. So now we have the logo color of the Netflix, and I'm going to add a transparent, and obviously, and I'm going to add a mix shader. Let's hook that up at the bottom. Then I'm going to add a color ramp. Okay, let's just put that at the top. Let's add a gradient texture, and let's just click Control T on the gradient texture. So now if you don't have node wrangler, just add it, or you go to preferences and you go to type your node wrangler, and you just select that under add-ons, or you can just manually add it. So while we have this node set up, we can just basically connect the color to the FAC and connect the color of the color ramp to this. Okay, and let's go to the texture coordinate and change that from generated to object, and the object which is going to control is the empty. So let's see in our render scene what that actually does. So if we go into our empty and let's move our empty, we can see that it's making it transparent. Okay, but there's still some stuff that we need to do. So we're going to change this gradient texture to easing, and we're going to change the color ramp to also ease. So let's see what happens if, okay, it's still the same thing. Let's now go and change one more setting. So we're going to change it to alpha blend. So we're going to go into our property tabs and we're going to select alpha blend. And now if we move, we get transparency. So it's working. And there's one more node that we're going to add to this. It's going to be the invert node. So now we get full transparency, as you can see, and there's nothing of the Netflix logo going to be there. So let's just see, it's only when we move the actually you could just make a like a intro just with this, but we just want to keep it, we just want to keep the particles basically on it. So we're going to leave that there, and the particles are going to basically have the same form of the letters. So I think that's all okay. There's just one more thing that we need to do, is we need to go into the particle systems again, and let's see if there is scale randomness. So the render, let's just change that to 0.010, the scaling of the object, and let's see, so let's increase the phase of the rotation and the randomize phase as well. Okay, and as you can see, we have our effect. So as you can see, it's starting, and then it's, if you just play it, let's just play it, and it's stopping. So the particles arrive and then they stop. So I'm just going to bake that quickly. I'm just going to move this a bit there, and let's just increase the particle size. So let's make that 50,000, or you could do whatever you want. I'm just going to say 50,000, and I'm going to go into bake that. So I'm going to say bake all dynamics, and let's see. Okay, so that's baked, and yeah, now we render this out. Let's just see how it looks. So yeah, there we go. There's our Netflix logo. The particles arrive, and at frame 167 it dissolves, it basically goes away. So yeah, you could basically use this for any logo, any text effect, anything that you're looking at, any motion graphics type of thing. And yeah, don't forget to like and comment and subscribe if you liked it. There's probably going to be another tutorial on using the same type of logo, but what we're going to change is we're going to have force fields, and it's basically going to be like a dissolved text effect. This is just the first part of it, so be tuned for that. And I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. I hope you like these tutorials. If you like them, please subscribe, and yeah, stay tuned for more. Then the last step is to basically render it out. So you go into your output, you have your bloom, you have your screen space reflections on, you have your output. You're going to change this to FFmpeg encoding, you're going to have it as MPEG 4 medium quality, and you're going to render it, the output, to wherever you desire, and you're just going to click render. So hope you guys like this tutorial. I hope it's beneficial for you. If you liked it, please subscribe